This year, essentially, we crossed over to become the largest vendor in the US for, a solution like this.
Yeah.
This is, it's great, but we haven't even scratched the surface. That's why I'm very proud. Obviously, it's great, but this market is only beginning. I mean, it's such a massive market, and we can do a lot better.
All right. Itzik, welcome to the Founder's Journey.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. I think we...
Happy to be here.
I think PayZen has a beautiful story, and you obviously as a co-founder and CEO. Tell us in your words, kind of what was the founding journey? Obviously, you've done a lot in fintech before. You and Tobias, right, the co-founder?
Yep.
I would love to hear kind of what brought about launching PayZen.
I think there are two facets to the founding story. One is logic-based and data-driven.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, like you said, we have a lot of background in fintech, kind of fintech 1.0, started from peer-to-peer lending, evolved into marketplace lending. And we saw a lot of data that would indicate that medical debt is a problem in the United States.
That's right.
It started as an alarming kind of trajectory. And over the years, it just became more and more extreme when it comes to the actual data you see every year.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of medical debt in the US has been growing fast and getting faster, more than any other type of debt.
Right.
So that was kind of the genesis of, okay, there's something we can do there with our expertise, with our knowledge, and solve a major problem. Now, the size of the problem is also pretty big. I mean, as you know, the healthcare economy in the US is about 15% of GDP.
Right.
Which is around $6 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is driven by manual processes and inefficiency, and we thought that we could solve that affordability gap of patients and liquidity gaps for providers using our expertise. Now, it started as an idea, but actually, I want to bring it up back to you because you're a professional investor, but in this case, you actually help us incubate the whole idea. So maybe the question should be kind of brought back to you. Like, how does it feel as an investor to be a part of starting a company together with Tobias and myself, picking up the names, the initial business model, just the whole founding story? I mean, it's rare that an investor gets to experience all of that. So
yeah. I love it how you turn it back to me. Now I'm the interviewee, and where you should be the focus. Yeah, but briefly, I'm very proud of this incubation story, like extremely proud. I think it's one of the poster childs of what we would like to do here at Viola Ventures. I think for me, I lived in the US for a long time. And for me, it was also a personal experience with a high deductible that all of a sudden you kind of get a mail, this is not a bill, this is not a bill, this is not a bill. All of a sudden they send you like a huge bill. And you're
it's
like,
a bill.
What just happened?
Exactly.
And then I think, kind of taking us all back 5-6 years ago, everybody spoke about the healthcare affordability problem, 4 trillion, 6 trillion industry, a huge one. Everybody talked about the intersection of fintech and healthcare, vertical fintech, which is also a big thesis. And I said, hey, we got to do something. So when I met you and Tobias, it was like, you have the lending, the fintech experience. Let's take it and do something in healthcare. And I remember briefly it was called Nuco at the beginning.
Yeah, we didn't have a name.
Which is a good story, like a white boilerplate type of PowerPoint.
That's right.
And then a fun story for the audience. Itzik at some point sends me an email and says, okay, we thought about 10 different names for this company. I get this email and I go through it briefly, like it's our company, like you choose your own name. And I go through the names. All of a sudden I see like number 6 or 7, Pay Shizzle. And I reply all. And I say, Itzik, I love you. But if you call this company Pay Shizzle, I'm out. And you're like, oh, no, I want to make sure that you're paying attention. Exactly. To my emails. I'm very proud of this incubation story. Yeah. All right, now back to you. We have to, you want to say something about this? Or?
No, so first of all, you're right. I mean, it was kind of a joke to make sure that, how would you react to a funny name like that? But you caught it right away. Obviously, you don't miss much. But yeah, I mean, back to the story. I mean, it was, the challenge for us was more not structuring a financial product that was designed for healthcare. It was more about, we knew nothing about healthcare. Mm-hmm. We knew nothing about the customer, which is basically large healthcare providers.
We'll talk about that, yeah.
And the learning curve, we had to learn fast.
Yeah.
We had to add people from the healthcare industry who would help us along, explain how things work.
Right.
And I think maybe we can talk about it later in the conversation, but only then we realized that payment plans and the structured products we actually have are not going to be the end-all be-all to solve that problem. We need a bigger boat. Essentially, it's going to be
good. So let's shift gears and talk about this. So I want also the audience and for you to explain. We call ourselves the operating system for affordability.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people confuse us with like traditional solutions, like a BNPL or kind of a vertical lending and all that jazz. Maybe in your own words, like what are we doing? Like why are we so differentiated in that sense?
Well, I think that you can solve a portion of the problem of affordability with payment plans and access cards, and essentially address the portion of the population that would need a longer payment cycle or term to pay a big balance. And again, those balances are derived from high deductible health plans, and the overall cost or out of pocket has been growing so much. But there are other problems, and the problems are, financial assistance, for example. That is a problem that is still not very automated. Eligibility for Medicaid, Medicare is another problem. And essentially, when you kind of boil it down to, it's a data and workflow problem, an automation problem. And we're different because we're deeply integrated data-wise with the provider. We understand the data very well. We built a platform that is built on consuming a lot of data, analyzing the data, and coming up with the right solution. And it's not necessarily all have to do with lending or a BNPL type product. It has to do with automating a workflow that could have been, currently being done by staff. It takes a long time,
right.
Paper, and we can solve the problem instantly with our platform. So we call ourselves an operating system because we solve many different problems. It's not just one thing, but the foundation of our platform is deeply integrated data and workflows.
Yeah, and I think it's important to also mention that at the end of the day, PayZen creates like a win-win-win situation. What do I mean by that? The providers manage to collect more of that deductible, right? Because they're like a point of care, not a point of sale. The patient, as opposed to BNPL, pays zero interest, right? So we should tell that to the audience. Well, you basically pay your bill, but you pay your bill over time without interest. And for PayZen, of course, it's a win because you orchestrate the entire thing.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a good time to talk about the company's mission, because we ground ourselves into a very well-defined mission that every employee in the company has been trained on, believes in, and behaves accordingly.
Right.
And we have several North Stars. One of them is don't add cost to healthcare. Okay, so don't make it more expensive by introducing interest or fees or anything else. Make it accessible to everyone who wants to pay their bill.
Yeah.
And increase access to healthcare, which is a big problem. And essentially, a lot of people don't think they can afford care, so they actually don't go to the doctor. They don't take care of themselves. They avoid necessary treatments. And it's just bad overall. So I think from a mission perspective, we're trying to bring financial health to healthcare.
Yeah. And I think that problem has actually exacerbated since you started
very much so.
PayZen, even in today's kind of, government and policy, et cetera.
Yeah, the trend is not healthy, right? So the trend is there's going to be an additional shift of payment responsibility to patients and additional financial stress on providers. And it's just not a sustainable model or trajectory. And companies like PayZen, can do a lot of good by trying to reverse that trend.
Yeah. Amazing. So you managed to grow 3x year over year consistently over the last few years, including this year out of a larger base, and hopefully next year as well. So you mentioned one thing, selling to providers is hard, right? So let's maybe give some advice to the founders listening to this, but also, at the end of the day, how do you continue to expand? So you have a suite of products, but you're also always kind of expanding into this operating system. So if you can touch on on both those angles of it's hard to sell, but you still manage to do it and expand. Talk about that a little bit.
So first of all, healthcare in the U.S. is a slower moving market,
Right.
and selling to providers is never going to be a fast thing. I mean, no matter what you're going to do, it's going to be longer than you expect.
Right.
But I think that where we excelled is with our attitude. The attitude was, okay, let's learn. Because, like I said, we're fintech people trying to learn in healthcare. So we look at every sale as an opportunity to understand the customer better, their problems better. And it leads to a very consultative type of sale. Mm-hmm. So we actually understand the customer deeply with data. They're willing to collaborate with us. And what comes out of it is tremendous amount of value that we provide we add to the provider, because we're tailor-making using our very flexible platform. Every sale is different. Right. Every provider has a different type of need, weaknesses, and advantages, and we are inserting ourselves where we can add value rather than take over the entire thing. Mm-hmm. So they look at us as a real partner. And that learning curve about developing new products, for example, also came out of an opportunity because providers see that, you're highly collaborative, so they'll share more and more information about their problems. Can you solve that problem for me? Can you solve this problem for me? And, when a customer asks you for features or potential enhancements to your platform, that's the best source of market validation, right? So essentially, that's how we treat it. We treat our customers. Well, first of all, the relationship with our customers is very collaborative. We're very attuned to their needs, and overall, that's what led to the success, But yeah, achieving 3x growth year over year for 3 years in a row now, and hoping to continue that next year, is not easy or something that has been done very often in healthcare. So I'm very proud of that. But it also shows the opportunity in the market. There's a lot of need.
I think you said two things that I want to kind of react to. One is you mentioned the word platform multiple times. I think that's key, right? You don't want to be a point solution. You don't want to be a feature. You want to be somebody that sits, in this case, within the provider, embedded in their workflows, embedded in what they do day to day, and solve them bigger and bigger problems. So they look at you to kind of be that platform of affordability, as you've mentioned. And the second thing, only I can say, I hope 3x next year. You say you should be more confident and say 3x next year, right? So that's part of the deal between the two of us.
I'm always cautious when I'm trying to promise things, even in a conversation like this.
Well, it's on camera, so
I know.
So I'm going to look at it, next year and make sure. All right, we can't do, obviously we can't do this filming without talking about AI. Mm-hmm. So maybe describe the role of AI as it pertains to PayZen and what you're doing, how you leverage it, how you use it in your day to day. What's maybe the plan also for the future?
So we look at it from 3 different angles. First of all, how do we use AI internally as a tool to make us more efficient, more productive, do more things faster? Mm-hmm. So the entire company is using AI from HR to sales, right, to marketing and servicing. Everything. Everybody's using AI in their own way with different tools, mm-hmm. but we have a lot of use of AI. So, and it's only getting started. I think what you'll see is much wider adoption of AI tools in the coming 2 years. I think we're starting to rely on these tools quite a bit. Now, we always used a form of AI in our underwriting, in our data. So, we use predictive AI with machine learning when it comes to our underwriting, data analysis, and kind of getting our models to be a lot more precise and a lot more predictive. And Gen AI is going to be the next generation of our products, which we're starting to do in early 2026, have to do with automation and workflow automation for providers. I mean, one of the biggest problems providers have is that they need to add staff for everything they need to do. Right. So if something is becoming a scaled problem, the only solution they have right now is to add more and more staff. And staff is a problem. It's costly. It's hard to hire people. And a company like us with our solutions as a platform that can expand and do more things, deeply integrated data and workflows can solve that problem. So a lot of the manual processes that currently are happening that affect affordability will be done using our Gen AI products as well. So it's across the board. We didn't start as a pure Gen AI company, but we're quickly becoming one.
Yeah. I think what you have, and many kind of founders face this, is you have access to data that no one else has, especially as it comes to kind of patient affordability, payment plans, etc. And I think people say this, it's not my own, but your AI models are as good as the data that you feed them. And I think that holds very true for PayZen as well.
I mean, we don't talk about it enough, but our data set is very unique. Essentially, the combination of, hospital EHR data combined with deeply enriched financial data on patients. It's a very unique data set. And that's what's good. But that is the asset that's going to fuel our Gen AI product, right? So I think we're sitting pretty well when it comes to being able to use and utilize those data assets.
Yeah. All right. So your personal background, people can look it up. You were a professional athlete. Then you led go-to-market organizations. Then you were a CEO, and then you launched PayZen. So one of the things that I like about you, and I think you have a lot to share, is that you're kind of a laser focus. Execution is always kind of top of mind, and really like a go-getter, which is wonderful. So obviously for me to work with, for any founder to be. And I know from our work together, from board meetings, that it's a lot about kind of KPIs, and those KPIs evolve over time. So maybe kind of your view about how you define KPIs, how do they evolve? How do you think about kind of you running the business?
Yeah, so this is my third company as CEO. I believe that if you can't fold everything in the company into 3 major KPIs, you don't understand your business. So every time I start a company, I'm in the pursuit of what are those 3 KPIs that really matter, that's something that I need to wake up in the morning and look at every day. And surprisingly, those KPIs materialized about 2 years after we started the company, and they didn't change since. They're still the same. We call them different names, but as you know from board meetings, we kind of make them more refined, but essentially it's the same thing. It's about how certain functions in the company are performing. Each one is responsible for different accountability, and essentially those leading KPIs are what makes the business, measure the business health, growth trajectory, et cetera. So that's one thing. We're a very data-driven organization, but it's not easy. I mean, essentially, it took us a while to really understand what are the drivers for this business. It's not the typical lending business that you can find many companies that you can kind of copy from. This is a very unique type of business dealing with healthcare and lending and data. So we kind of make our own unique KPIs, and so far it's consistent. I think we're going to, I don't see any change in the future.
Yeah, I think that's part of the challenge, but also importantly the opportunity of kind of creating, building, and winning a category, like a very large category in the U.S., which is exactly what you and obviously us as an investor are looking for.
Yeah, and this year essentially we crossed over to become the largest vendor in the U.S. for a solution like this.
Yeah. And it took you 17 minutes to get to that point.
This is. It's great, but we haven't even scratched the surface. That's why I'm very proud. Obviously, it's great, but this market is only beginning. I mean, it's such a massive market, and we can do a lot better. So,
okay, I know culture is also kind of deep to your heart, right? You care about kind of the type of culture. We are obviously north of 100 people with PayZen and growing. In one interview, you said CEO speaks, what did you say, last, right? At the end of the day. Talk to us about your culture and what are you trying to, and successfully actually doing to instill within PayZen?
So it's funny because we're just about to go to our management offsite and basically refresh some of our values and the internal operating system for the company of we call it the PayZen way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you like the Mandalorian, but this is the way.
PayZen leads the way.
Yeah. So so when I say I speak last, it's more of a learning experience for me because essentially when you sit at the leadership position as a CEO, people try to please you and people try to align themselves with you. So if you start the conversation and say something, it will influence the entire conversation. Essentially, you're not going to hear everybody else's truth or what they really think.
Mm-hmm.
And I prefer to listen before I speak, and I want to hear other people's ideas, and I don't want to influence too much in the conversation. Believe me, you know me, I'm opinionated.
Yeah, a little bit.
I am from here, after all, from Israel. But, I'm opinionated, but I want to hear other opinions. So I think that gives me the opportunity to at least understand the room, understand everybody's perspective, and then, try to speak last. So that's one thing. But, from a culture perspective, mission first, always. Performance management is very important to us. Mm-hmm. And I think being a professional athlete and bringing some of those disciplines of, rigor, the discipline, and kind of a fighting spirit is really helpful. I think it helps.
Good. So let's take this fighting spirit. Let's see if I agree with your answer for the last question. Last but not least. So if we fast forward, 2-3 years, where do you see PayZen as it comes to its growth, its impact on affordability, and also, its kind of fate as a company?
I think that take 3 years forward, PayZen is going to be an influential factor in millions of patients' lives when it comes to their access to healthcare. People are going to rely on us as a solution to enable their healthcare, their families, and for themselves. I think healthcare providers are going to rely on PayZen as a true partner that adds a ton of impact to their cash flow and enhances their patient experience because it's going to be much better. And as a company, I think that, we talked about the size of the market, but if you look at that patient billings last year in the United States, it's $1.5 trillion. I mean, there's a lot to go around. There's a lot to improve here. So I think, the opportunity for us to become a very significant player in the healthcare market and become a much larger company is there. So how big and how much it's going to be, it's hard to predict right now. But I think if you stick to the impact you're trying to create and you stick to your core mission, only good things can happen. It's about execution at this point.
Is PayZen public in 3 years?
I don't see being public as a goal. I mean, I think it's a way to operate the company, but I think we can be as successful without becoming public. But it's definitely an option. So as an organization and as a board member, you know this already. We're preparing ourselves for that eventuality when it comes to our maturity, our processes, our controls. That's something we have to do. But so if we decide to go public, it will be a very quick process because we'll be there. But I don't think that I can predict if we'll be public or not in 3 years. So
all right, we'll watch this in 3 years and we'll know. Itzik, thank you very, very much.
My pleasure.
Amazing. Thank you. Appreciate it.